Government malls use of face shields for school children. Lim Guang En charged with abuse of power. Good afternoon, I'm Azlani and you're watching Updates at Noon. The government is looking into the use of face shields for school children rather than face masks. Senior Minister for Security Cluster, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the matter had been brought up to the Health Ministry, MOH, taking into consideration families who could not afford to buy disposable face masks.
Dia dah keluarkan, kena ada 3 lapis. 3 ply. Jadi kita minta kalau 3 ply itu mungkin lebih mahal juga harganya. Pasal fabrik dia adalah fabrik tertentu yang diluluskan. Kita sekarang ni kita mencadangkan supaya kalau boleh tak kain biasa digunakan untuk menutup muka. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, kita juga mencadangkan supaya face shield juga boleh digunakan. Sebab face shield ini beli sekali tak perlu tukar hari-hari. Dia cuba boleh dicuci saja.
Speaking on developments concerning the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO in Parliament yesterday, he said apart from that, the MOH was also urged to consider if it was all right for those wearing the purdah not to wear a face mask, and should this be approved, it will be announced later. The wearing of face masks is not compulsory for those who are in school, but it is highly encouraged, more so since the government gazetted its mandatory use from 1st August, especially when on public transport and at congested areas. Similarly, Health Ministry Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said unlike face masks, there has yet to be clinical proof that face shields are effective against the spread of COVID-19. However, he opined that using a face shield was better than not having any face covering at all.
Dan juga kita telah melihat iaitu menggunakan face shield dan boleh digunakan face shield iaitu menutup, tetapi kita tak ada lagi bukti-bukti klinikal yang mengatakan dia dapat mencegah, tetapi sekurang-kurangnya kita ada perlindungan menggunakan face shield tersebut. Dan untuk face mask kita telah ada bukti mengatakan kalau kita menggunakan face mask kita dapat memutuskan jangkitan penularan COVID-19 iaitu lebih kurang 60-65%.
He said this at the Health Ministry's update on COVID-19 in Putrajaya yesterday. On another note, Dr. Noor Hisham said whether the COVID-19 virus from the Sivaganga cluster is a D614G mutated strain of the virus that increased the risk of COVID-19 infection among those who do not comply with standard operating procedures SOP will be known in a week's time. He said the Institute of Medical Research was studying and had isolated the COVID-19 virus from the Sivaganga cluster. Dr. Noor Hisham added that through public health actions, so far the Sivaganga cluster infection in Kedah, Perlis and Pulau Pinang has been successfully controlled through active case detection and the targeted enhanced movement control order.
Tiga negeri iaitu Perlis, Kedah dan Pulau Pinang. Jadi kita lihat kepada jangkitan yang kes yang positif dan kita mengesan iaitu active case detection dan kontak rapat. Setakat ini kita dapat melaksanakan aktiviti tersebut dengan baik dan kita dapat mengesan mereka ini, dan contohnya kes di Pulau Pinang juga kita dapat mengesan. Jadi apa yang penting ialah kita pertingkatkan lagi aktiviti kawalan iaitu menggunakan kaedah kesihatan awam dan berterusan.
In his briefing yesterday, he said apart from public health measures, border control also needs to be improved as the COVID-19 D614G mutation virus is also reported in Europe and other countries. Former Pulau Pinang Chief Minister Lim Guang Eng was today charged at the Session Courts in Butterworth with abusing his power to obtain 372,009 ringgit for his wife Betty Chew Gat Cheng. Lim 60, who is also former Finance Minister and current DAP Secretary General, nodded his head in understanding when the charge was read to him by the court interpreter before Judge Ahmad Azhari Abdul Hamid. He, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge. Lim was charged alongside his wife Betty Chew Gan Cheng and businesswoman Pang Lee Kun. Chew pleaded not guilty to 3 charges under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities (AMLA) Act, while Pang pleaded not guilty to abetting Lim on his charge. Bail was set at 50,000 ringgit each. The charges are not related to previous cases on the Pulau Pinang Undersea Tunnel project or the sale of the former Chief Minister's bungalow on Jalan Pinhon and are fresh charges. On Monday, Lim pleaded not guilty to a charge of using his position as then Chief Minister of Pulau Pinang to solicit a 3.3 million ringgit bribe related to the 6.3 billion ringgit Pulau Pinang Undersea Tunnel project. Police have cracked down on exotic animal hunting and illegal use of firearms with the arrest of 5 men and a woman in Mersing and Kluang. Johor Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said the suspects, all Malaysians, who were believed to have been actively involved in hunting exotic animals in the past 2 years, were arrested under Op Khazanah Pemburuan Haiwan and following information from the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Sultan Iskandar. Briefing reporters yesterday, he said in the first operation besides Sungai Lenggo, Mersing at 1:30 a.m. Sunday, an enforcement team from the State Department of Wildlife and National Park Perhilitan, Peninsular Malaysia, and the General Operation Force managed to arrest 3 men aged between 33 and 47. Following the arrest, police seized 2 portions of wild boar meat, porcupine quills, 2 homemade rifles, 3 shotgun bullets, 3 machetes, and a Mitsubishi Triton vehicle.
Adalah hasil daripada maklumat Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Ibni Almarhum Sultan Iskandar pada 9 Ogos jam lebih kurang 10 malam di beberapa lokasi di daerah Kluang, Johor kerana disyaki terlibat dalam kegiatan pemburuan haiwan eksotik.
Dato' Ayub Khan said police also seized 54 portions of wild boar meat, 17 portions believed to be jungle fowl meat, 10 portions of suspected burung pucung or black crown night heron meat, 6 portions of deer meat and 2 deer heads, a shotgun and 270 bullets of various brands, a Toyota Hilux and a firearm license. Police believe the seized animal meat were for sale to restaurants along Kluang and for exports to foreign countries. On Sunday, Sultan Ibrahim on his official Facebook page had expressed anger over poaching activities that are still going on in the state forest, including in Endau Ropen, Mersing and Kahang. The public should use the proper channels to report any criminal cases, including illegal gambling, to avoid endangering their own safety. Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin, while expressing his gratitude to burger seller Muhammad Asri Hamid, 42, for exposing gambling activities in Sungai Buloh, said the act of disseminating information on social media could pose a threat to the whistleblower.
Saya dimaklumkan oleh bukan hanya saudara Asri tapi juga tadi saya bertemu dengan ramai mereka yang menyewa kedai-kedai di sini memaklumkan memang betul lah ada perjudian haram yang dilakukan di sini. Ianya sudah pun berlarutan, bukan baru, ianya sudah agak lama. Maka untuk mengurangkan perkara yang tidak diingini berlaku di kawasan ini, saya akan cuba untuk menentukan bahawa ianya boleh dapat dibanteras dengan secepat mungkin.
Speaking when met in Bandar Baru, Sungai Buloh yesterday, he added whistleblowers are encouraged to provide information on criminal cases, but it should be done according to the laws and they must not act recklessly. A live video broadcast via the Hot Burger Malaysia Facebook page had gone viral and also been shared on Muhammad Asri's account under the name of Asri Janggut, who claimed that the authorities did not take any action on gambling activities in Sungai Buloh besides revealing the gambling locations. When asked whether police would take action on Muhammad Asri, Datuk Sri Hamzah said police would question him so that proper action could be taken on his allegations. Facial recognition technology today is increasingly being used by law enforcement agencies, banks, hotels, airport and now convenience stores to detect and arrest criminals quickly. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Datuk Sri Mazlan Lazim said by the installation of facial recognition closed-circuit television CCTV cameras in convenience stores, the faces of criminals can be clearly recorded to trace their identities. He said criminal activities often occur in convenience stores, especially those that operate 24 hours before the implementation of the Movement Control Order or MCO involving robbery and theft.
Untuk makluman, pihak kita telah dapat mengurangkan kadar jenayah dalam jangka masa sampai Julai ini, iaitu 30% penurunannya. Dan untuk kita lihat kepada kes jenayah melibatkan syarikat 24 jam ni yang supermarket kan yang menjual barang-barang sebanika ni, ianya telah dapat turun daripada tahun lepas 88, tahun ini 44.
He said this at the launch of the facial recognition CCTV system at KK Mart, Taman Desa Petaling in the nation's capital yesterday. He said the use of facial recognition CCTV system could also help police track down individuals reported missing. A 40-year-old man was found dead on the ground floor of the court buildings in Georgetown yesterday just after he was convicted of fighting in Aitam by the court. It is learned that the man who was in handcuffs had fallen from the 5th floor of the building about 11:35 a.m. The police forensics unit was immediately called to the scene. Timor Laut Police Chief ACP Sofian Santong confirmed the incident and said a thorough investigation is ongoing. In the incident, it was believed the suspect was allowed to go to the toilet in the court building after he was convicted of his crime by the Georgetown Sessions Court at about 11 a.m. Moments later, he was found lying dead on the ground floor of the court building, still in handcuffs. His remains was later taken to Pulau Pinang Hospital for post-mortem. It's believed the 40-year-old suspect had committed suicide. Still to come, Tekun has disbursed 28 million ringgit to almost 4,000 micro-entrepreneurs. This and more, stay tuned. The National Entrepreneur Economic Fund, Tekun Nasional, has disbursed 28 million ringgit to 3,900 micro-entrepreneurs under the Tekun Business Recovery Scheme, TBRS, to date. Entrepreneur Development and Cooperative Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tengku Jaafar said the amount is from the 100 million ringgit additional allocation under the National Economic Recovery Plan, Penjana, to assist micro-entrepreneurs whose businesses had been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking at his ministry's monthly assembly at Menara Kembar Bank Rakyat in Kuala Lumpur yesterday, he said the government had previously also allocated 200 million ringgit under the Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package Prihatin to the COVID Business Recovery Micro CBRM scheme.
Saya dengan Ketua KSU pergi jumpa dengan Menteri Keuangan untuk minta tambahan daripada yang asal 200 juta. Dilulus bagi selepas tu ada dilulus 400 juta oleh kerajaan, 100 juta diallocate dengan kita. Lepas tu minta lagi, KSU minta lagi, lulus lagi 100 juta. Jadi maknanya setakat ini kita dah ada 300 juta. Jadi dalam keadaan sekian kita masih ada sumber kewangan ni lah. Berapa banyak yang telah disalurkan Tuan?
300 kita dah salur semua. Yang baru ni kita dah salur 28 juta.
28 juta daripada yang 100 juta.
The TBRS scheme provides entrepreneurs financing of up to RM10,000 at an annual interest rate of 3.5%. In the maiden assembly, Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi also launched the ministry-level National Month celebrations and corruption-free pledge. Exports of Malaysia's natural rubber has increased by 14.2% in June this year to 38,587 tonnes from 33,780 tonnes in May. Chief Statistician Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin in a statement yesterday said the main export destination was China, accounting for 68.1% share, followed by Finland with 4.2%, Germany with 3.8%, the United States with 2.9%, and Taiwan with 2.7%. Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair said rubber gloves are still the main export item, with export value increasing by 30.7% from 2.13 billion ringgit in May to 2.78 billion ringgit in June. He said the rubber glove industry accounted for 34,358 tonnes or 77.7% of total domestic consumption. Overall, domestic consumption of natural rubber rose 8.7% in June to 44,217 tonnes as compared with the previous month. Meanwhile, production of natural rubber jumped by 59.3% in June to 33,531 tonnes from 21,044 tonnes in the previous month. Stocks of natural rubber declined in June by 12.6% to 254,105 tonnes, against 290,607 tonnes in May. Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair also said that the average price of latex concentrated improved to 479.90 cent per kilogram in June from 432 ringgit 16 cent per kilogram in May, while the price of standard Malaysian rubber 20 grew to 484 ringgit 0.33 cent per kilogram from 470 ringgit and 13 cent per kilogram. Front, Lebanon government resigns over blast fallout. Lebanon's Prime Minister Hassan Diab announced his government's resignation on Monday amid popular outrage over the deadly Beirut port explosion that has reignited angry street protests. The collapse of his government had looked inevitable after a string of resignations and a cabinet meeting during which several cabinet members made it clear they would also quit. Diab's announcement came even as security forces in central Beirut clashed again with protesters demanding an end to an entrenched political system widely seen as inept, corrupt and dominated by sectarian interests and family dynasties. According to the Health Ministry, at least 160 people were killed in Lebanon's worst peacetime disaster, 6,000 were wounded and about 20 remain missing after disaster blamed on official negligence. 6 days after the enormous chemical blast wreaked destruction across swathes of the capital and was felt as far away as the island of Cyprus, residents and volunteers were still clearing the debris off the streets. International rescue teams with sniffer dogs and specialized equipment remained at work at the disaster's chart ground zero, where the search was now for bodies and not survivors. The Lebanese want heads to roll over the tragedy and are asking how a massive stockpile of volatile ammonium nitrate, a compound used primarily as a fertilizer, was left unsecured at the port for years. Diab's resignation was met with cars honking in the streets and a celebratory fire in the northern city of Tripoli, but was unlikely to meet the long-term expectations of the Lebanese population. The outgoing government is now due to stay on in as caretaker capacity, and the next elections could still be months away. China on Monday sanctioned 11 Americans, including Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, in retaliation for similar U.S. moves prompted by Beijing's crackdown in Hong Kong. Washington last week accused 11 officials of suppressing freedom and democratic processes in Hong Kong, including city leader Carrie Lam, and announced plans to freeze their U.S. assets. It was the toughest U.S. action yet in response to Beijing's introduction of a sweeping and controversial new national security law for the territory. Beijing said the measure was a violation of international law and grossly interferes in China's internal affairs. The Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said on Monday China has decided to impose sanctions on some people that behave badly on Hong Kong-related issues, with Human Rights Watch Director Kenneth Roth and National Endowment for Democracy President Carl Gershman also on the list. Zhao did not give details of what the sanctions would entail. On Monday, Hong Kong media mogul Jimmy Lai, one of the city's most vocal Beijing critics, was arrested under the security law. Secret Service guards shot a person who was apparently armed outside the White House on Monday. President Donald Trump said just after being briefly evacuated in the middle of a press conference. The president was abruptly ushered out of the press event and black-clad Secret Service agents with automatic rifles rushed across the lawn north of the White House.
Dow Jones are
Minutes later, Trump appeared at the press conference where journalists had been locked in and announced that someone had been shot outside the White House grounds.
There was a shooting. It was law enforcement shot someone, seems to be the suspect, and the suspect is now on the way to the hospital. I can't tell you the condition of the suspect. There was nobody else injured. There was no other law enforcement injured. And I just want to, we'll get on to the press conference, but I do want to thank Secret Service. They are fantastic. The job they do. From what I understand, the answer is yes.
He was armed, Mr. President?
That's what I understand.
Trump said he knew nothing about the identity or motives of the person shot, but said the person had been armed. Rescuers are digging through the wreckage of a gas explosion that ripped through 3 homes in West Baltimore, United States on Monday morning, killing 1 woman. According to fire officials, at least 6 people were taken to hospitals. The blast destroyed 3 brick row homes and ripped open the wall of another, spreading debris throughout the neighborhood. Baltimore City Fire Department spokeswoman Blair Adams told reporters at the scene that rescuers picked through the rubble, searching for victims with their hands and hand tools. Officials added that rescue efforts were continuing, although they could not confirm whether anyone else might still be trapped. Images and Chopper 4 footage of the scene showed a massive, still smoldering debris field and a large emergency response. The cause of the explosion in northwest Baltimore is currently unknown. An improvised bomb planted on motorbike killed 6 people in Pakistan's restive southwestern Balochistan province on Monday. Senior police official Razak Shima said a vehicle carrying personnel from the country's anti-narcotic force was believed to be the target of the blast in Chaman town, which borders Afghanistan. The explosion killed 6 passers-by and wounded 10 others, 2 of them critically. Local police official Masood Khan confirmed the attack and casualties. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attack, but Baluch separatists demanding greater autonomy have been waging an insurgency for years, while the province is also riven by sectarian strife and Islamist violence. Mineral-rich Balochistan, bordering Afghanistan and Iran, is the largest of Pakistan's 4 provinces, but its roughly 7 million inhabitants have long complained they do not receive a fair share of its gas and mineral wealth. China is investing in the area under a $54 billion project known as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, upgrading infrastructure, power and transport links between its far west Xinjiang region and Pakistan Gwadar port in Balochistan. Thousands of parliamentary troops carry out security checks and help police in maintaining law and order in restive parts of Pakistan. in sports, no new COVID-19 infections reported in Atletico Madrid. The 4 shortlisted candidates for the women's national hockey team coach position will go through another round of interviews before the Malaysian Hockey Confederation (MHC) makes its selection. According to MHC President Datuk Seri Subhan Kamal, this final round of evaluation will have National Sports Council (MSN) Director General Datuk Ahmad Syapawi Ismail and National Sports Institute (ISN) Chief Executive Officer Ahmad Faizal Muhammad Ramli in the panel.
Kita dah shortlist 2 foreign, 2 locals dan kita ada special committee yang akan interview second round yang mana di shortlistkan dan insyaAllah by bulan ni kita akan buat keputusan untuk mengumumkan siapa ketua jurulatih. Macam saya kata, 1st of September that person will start this job lah.
Datuk Seri Subhan said in this press conference at Kinrara Resort, Puchong, it is learned that coach Muhammad Dharma Raj Abdullah decided to take a break from coaching and not apply for a contract renewal. Atletico Madrid breathed a sigh of relief on Monday after further coronavirus tests on their players and staff turned negative, allowing the team to travel to Portugal on Tuesday for their Champions League quarter-final against Leipzig. Tests at the weekend had revealed 2 coronavirus cases at the club, which Atletico confirmed on Monday to be players Angel Correa and Sime Vrsaljko. Both players are asymptomatic and will remain isolated at home while the rest of the squad will return to training in the Spanish capital on Monday afternoon before flying to Lisbon on Tuesday for Thursday's game against Leipzig. The club also said the case of Vrsaljko is considered resolved by the health authorities as he generated antibodies several months ago. Atletico added that tests were also performed on relatives living with the 2 positive cases, all of which were also negative. Meanwhile, UEFA said the Champions League quarter-final between Atletico Madrid and Leipzig is planned to be played as scheduled on Thursday, despite 2 positive tests for coronavirus at the Spanish club. Under the UEFA protocol for European competitions, a team must have 13 healthy players, including a goalkeeper, for a match to go ahead. Failing that, UEFA can give the go-ahead for the match to be rescheduled. The quarter-final starts on Wednesday when Italian side Atalanta take on Paris Saint-Germain. That's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, government mulls use of face shield for school children. News at 10 comes on this evening on My Free Views Berita RTM News Channel. I'm Azlan Yadani. Thank you for watching.